Hello and welcome back to On Your Beauty. Today's video is going to be a review of the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Matte Foundation. So I've done a wee bit of a demo on how I like to apply it and how it's recommended you apply it, so you can check that out. Hopefully the lighting is okay. I'm having issues with my box light, so we're going with natural foggy lighting outside. Pretty good. Anyway, so on this side of my face I applied it with just the brush initially, so I sort of went down either side of my face. So on the right hand side of my face I applied it with the brush, and then on the left hand side of my face I have used my Real Techniques beauty sponge, or whatever it's called, Miracle Perfection sponge I think. It is recommended that it says smooth onto skin in circular motions for flawless looking coverage. So I assumed that is with a brush, maybe it's with my fingers. I have applied it in various different ways and I find the best way is actually with a sponge. I get less creasing and stuff with the sponge. So as you can see, it is actually quite almost, I would say, a runny formula. Not super thin but not overly thick either, which is, you know, good explanation, but it's not really emollient, it's not creamy or anything like that. So it's easy to spread over the skin. You would get, I would say, medium coverage at the most. I have attempted building this up in the past and it doesn't really go that well. You can use the sponge and layer up a wee bit more, but not massive amounts, so you will only ever get medium coverage at the very most. I would say this is more light to medium coverage, generally speaking. You'll see after I've applied it, using both the brush and the sponge, there are still, I have a spot on my chin, I have one on the side of my nose, and I have one just above my left eyebrow, and the foundation doesn't cover those at all, so it doesn't cover that redness. My freckles still show through, which is no bad thing. I quite like my freckles. You can still see the pigmentation on my forehead and all that kind of jazz, so it doesn't really, it's not a massive coverage foundation. The colour match is pretty good for me, considering I am very fair and I generally struggle with the colour match. Colour match is very good. So I have the shade 10 Porcelain, so the lightest shade available, and it is a pretty good match down my neck. I obviously blend down my neck a wee bit, but generally speaking, if you can sort of see there, it's a pretty good match for lower down my neck and my chest to my face. So I'm really pleased with the colour match, so that's really good. This retails, as I didn't say actually, it's for $6.99 for 35ml, so that's not too bad of a price. In regards to long lasting, this doesn't last massively long on me. Normally I would apply my foundation at about 7 o'clock in the morning, and I generally notice by 1 o'clock this has moved on my face and I have to blend it back in. Generally I can get away with doing that the first time with my fingers. After that it's slipping off my face. I can't really get it to blend back in, but I can generally get away with that, you know, once before it's then just all over the place. It also seems to sink into my pores and my fine lines, so I would have pores around my cheek area, you know, just around the base of my nose, and I have fine lines under my eyes, and it will sink into those like nobody's business, frankly. So especially if I apply it with just a brush and don't use a sponge afterwards, it will really sink into the pores of my cheeks and massively into the lines under my eyes. Generally I will leave the foundation and do everything else and then come back and then just run my fingers underneath my eyes to sort of get rid of any excess there or anything that may have gathered, and I will do that a few times throughout the day depending. And again, it will crease around my nose slightly as well throughout the day. I have to use a concealer to cover my redness, which is fine, it's no big deal. But if I attempt to really build up the foundation, it would break down a lot quicker on my face, so if I build it up, it is definitely going to break down that bit quicker. So for short-term use only for building up there, I think. I've used it with my Sleek Mattifying Primer. I've also used it with the Maybelline Pore Minimizer Primer, so more of a silicone base, and this is more of a creamy sort of base. And it doesn't really work with either of them. It's fine with both of them, but it actually works slightly better with the Sleek one. But you can see already I'm getting creasing around my nose. Don't know if you can see that already. Just pat that back in. I'm not overly keen on this foundation on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to use it up, but I should mention I have sort of oily skin here and a wee bit here, but it's starting to dry out up here and pretty oily around my mouth, generally speaking. That's where my oil zone is, with a dry bit, and generally I'm okay and quite normal on my cheeks. And this just doesn't really last very long on me, and I'm forever checking it in case it has slipped. It's okay. It's good colour match wise. I think it might be slightly better with slightly drier skin, although not too dry, because I have noticed when I had a dry patch just to one side of my face, I can't remember, it clung to that, like really clung to the dry patches and made it much more obvious, and it was hard to get rid of that cakey look of it. So I wouldn't maybe recommend it if you have super dry skin, but if you have pretty normal skin with minimal amount of combo-ness, so minimal amount of dryness or minimal amount of oiliness, this would be really good for you. For extremes either way, I wouldn't recommend it. For me, I think I will use it up, and it may work slightly differently. I might discover a new primer and it might work massively well with that. There is a primer that came out with this, but I haven't checked it out. I did sort of use it in the the tester in the shop, and it kind of reminded me of the Maybelline Pore Eraser one, but slightly less silicone-y, so I kind of expected it to work the same, but maybe it doesn't. But yes, so I'm not entirely sold. This is supposed to help cover medium texture, high coverage and a matte finish. It definitely does mattify down, and it doesn't look flat. It doesn't flatten my face completely, although obviously you do have to add colour when you're using matte foundations, etc. I would say medium coverage, light to medium coverage, and I don't think it's that particularly great at covering texture or disguising it, because it sinks into my pores and into my wrinkles and clings to any dry patches and stuff, so not really a hit on that front. All in all, I'm not entirely sold, but if you are using it, I would definitely recommend testing it out using a sponge to get a nice finish. Make sure you would definitely have to set this, I've tried it without setting it and it was just off by lunchtime, so if I set it I get a few more hours wear out of it. Good colour match, and it's okay. I'm not entirely sold. I've heard lots of people raving about it and I expected miracles because I'd heard so much hype about it, but I would say it's a good average, not the best on the market. I really enjoy the fact that it's a really good colour match. Yay for that, for us pale girls, woohoo! I'm sure there's somebody far louder than me that will just not be able to wear this, but for me I can get away with this, which is pretty good. All in all, I'd give it maybe a 5 out of 10. It sits somewhere in the middle. It's not brilliant, but it's not the worst. So that is it. If you have any questions, please let me know down below. Thank you very, very much for watching. Please like if you liked, please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video.